Hi there, and welcome to Monday Momentum at Math Science History. I'm Gabrielle Burchak, and today I'm going to get really honest with you. I started to develop a twitch under my right eye. It all started around the time I was getting ready to submit our taxes. It really got me overthinking, totally overthinking, and that kind of spiraled into some more overthinking. And before I knew it, I was overthinking everything. My life, my future, my podcast. It was just overthinking central. But I took a step back and realized that the twitch and all of the stress in my neck and everything is from my overthinking. And if you're like me and you struggle with overthinking, I think this Monday Momentum podcast is for you. So today we're talking about something that quietly steals our momentum before Monday even starts. It's the hidden tax of overthinking. Last week on Math Science History, we explored the history of taxes, from ancient Mesopotamian clay tablets to the modern filing deadline and the enduring question of what we owe as members of a society. And I even threw in a little bit of Monty Python. I really liked that part. Then on Flashcard Fridays, I talked about tax season overwhelm and how deadlines, numbers, and uncertainty can overload the brain. But today I want to talk about another kind of a tax. And it's not the one that's deducted from your paycheck. It's the one that's deducted from your time, your focus, and your forward momentum. Because overthinking does not just drain your energy, it creates drag. It keeps us mentally parked at the starting line. And Monday's about momentum. It's about movement. So let's think about those things that create drag. That's friction. And if you love physics like I love physics, you'll know that it's really hard to push a heavy sofa across a carpet because the carpet is the friction. And so we're dealing with friction here when we start to overthink. So according to a Qualtrics survey in 2026 that was conducted for Intuit TurboTax, I read this article. It's great. It's based on responses from more than 1,000 U.S. adults. 46% of Americans say that tax season is the most stressful financial moment of the year. And 30% say filing taxes negatively impacts their mental health. My hand is raised on this one. So, if you've ever spent Sunday night replaying your to-do list, your taxes, your emails, and every possible worst-case scenario, you are not alone. I'm right there with you. So, let's talk about the science of mental drag. There's real science behind why this feels so exhausting. Researchers studying financial stress and cognition have found that money worries can consume so much mental energy that performance measurably drops. So if I've sounded boring over the last couple of episodes, I think you'll know why. One well-known Princeton study found that financial worries can produce a decline in cognitive function equivalent to losing an entire night of sleep, or about a 13-point drop in IQ performance during the stressful moment. Think about that. Overthinking and financial stress can make your brain perform as if it is sleep-deprived. No wonder why everything feels harder on a Monday morning. A 2024 meta-analysis led by Felipe de Almeida and colleagues covering more than 111,000 participants found a statistically significant moderate decline in cognitive performance under financial scarcity with an effect of negative 0.43. So basically, in plain English, what this means is when the mind is preoccupied with fear, it has less space left for focus, creativity, and decision-making. And that is a hidden tax. The task itself may only take 20 minutes, but thinking about the task may have already cost you 2 hours of mental energy. And here's where the science gets super interesting. There's this effect known as the Zeigarnik effect. And in an original study by psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, she found that unfinished tasks were remembered about 90% more often than completed ones. Let that sink in. This means that unfinished business keeps nudging your brain and your mind and your life. You begin to think about the email you need to send, the project you need to start, the conversation you keep replaying. Your brain keeps unfinished tasks active because they remain unresolved. And here's a cool little tiny science note. Newer meta-analytic work suggests the memory advantage itself is less consistent than once thought, while the tendency to resume started tasks is much more robust. There's your momentum for the week. Let's think about that. Psychologist Maria Ovchinkina found that once a task has been started, people show a strong tendency to return to it. This is known as the Ovchinkina effect. In other words, starting the task creates momentum. The first big step is not just progress, it's propulsion. Momentum does not begin with perfect motivation. It begins with initiation. Even 5 minutes of work can be enough to create that forward force. 5 minutes of sorting receipts, 5 minutes of answering emails, 5 minutes of outlining an idea. Once movement begins, the mind is more likely to keep going. And here's what we can carry into the week to give it some momentum. First, name the thought loop. Ask yourself, what am I mentally paying interest on right now? And be specific, not everything, because that's me. Everything has a number one. Instead, look at one difficult email, one financial task, one conversation, one unfinished project, just one. Naming the loop shrinks it. Vagueness will make your anxiety feel infinite. Specificity makes it solvable. Be specific. 2, convert thought into one visible action. This is the momentum move. Take the worry and translate it into one visible task. Visualize it. For example, you're worried about your taxes. Gather one form. You're worried about your work. Send one email. You're worried about your schedule. Open one calendar that has everything in it, not 5 calendars. That's me. I have 5 calendars. You got to have one calendar. And I'm learning that. This momentum podcast is helping me. The goal is not to finish everything. The goal is to break the mental loop with motion because action interrupts overthinking. All right, 3, let's use the 5-minute launch. Commit to just 5 minutes. Set a timer. Begin, sort papers. Write the first paragraph. Make the call. Often the hardest part is just crossing that threshold. Once movement begins, momentum follows. Avoidance compounds stress. Action compounds confidence. I'm going to say that one more time because I love it. Avoidance compounds stress. Action compounds confidence. So this Monday, let's ask ourselves, what thoughts have been taxing our momentum? And what is the smallest action that creates forward force? Because momentum is rarely born from perfect clarity. It is born from movement. Just one task, one decision, and one brave beginning. And that's how your week will change. Thank you for tuning in to Monday Momentum at Math, Science, History. I'm Gabrielle Burchak, and until Wednesday, Carpe Diem.